Okay, I'm going to kick things off. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gabriella Costa, and I'm a Client Success Manager here at Edelweiss. Today's session will be covering buying with our new Catalog and Order List View. Because this view is critical to so many users, we have been taking extra care with these changes and incorporating user feedback at every stage of development. All buyers now have access to the new view, and today we want to take a moment to offer you some support as you explore it. We encourage you to continuously share your feedback with us as you utilize it. So some quick housekeeping before we begin. For the first half of this webinar, we will be presenting a video demo prepared by Claire Fields, a software developer here at Edelweiss. Following the video, we will have a live Q&A with Claire, who will be joined by Marc Galvin from the Bookstore Plus. Feel free to put your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. And when we start the Q&A, I will share your questions out loud. We also have our wonderful senior support specialist, Nikki, who's holding down the chat to help answer questions. Lastly, if you find you don't have access to the new toggle, please email us at support@abovethetreeline.com rather than telling us in the chat. That's the best method to get that resolved. This is not a working session, so you don't need the new list view toggle right now. The demo has been pre-recorded and it's linked in the new List View Knowledge Center, so you can refer to it at another time. We will also record this whole session and share it with attendees afterwards. So now I'm going to turn things over to Claire to share the demo.
So thanks, Gabriella. Alrighty. Oh, that. Hi, my name is Claire Fields, and I'm a software engineer at Edelweiss. For the last 2 years, I've been involved in a revamp of 2 core parts of the website, the catalog and order pages. This effort is the start of some significant technology updates that will ultimately extend to the rest of the site and ensure that the tools you use every day remain stable, fast, and effective. While our primary motivation for this change is to take advantage of newer tech and improve the performance of the website, this is also an opportunity to make a few improvements to the user interface. We released a beta version to retailers in 2023, and as of March 2024, have released to a select few publisher sales reps. In this walkthrough, I'm going to show you how to access the new view and use many of the features to place an order. The video is broken into short sections and is full of tips and tricks for new and experienced users alike. Let's get started. If you are a retailer with buying privileges on the site, you should be able to access the new view. Simply pull up any catalog or order. I'll use this Norton catalog, which has a shared markup, as an example. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you should see a toggle that says New View. This toggle is not available on every page of the website, only those with Catalog ID or Order ID in the URL. If you have buying privileges and do not see it on these pages, please reach out to support@abovethetreeline.com and we will get you set up. Clicking on the toggle will refresh the page and bring you to a view that looks pretty similar to the old. If this is your first time using the new view, you will see a pop-up walkthrough of some major changes. You can access this walkthrough, other help documentation, or give us feedback at any point from the Knowledge Center in the lower right-hand corner. If you get partway through a buy, you can always toggle back to the old view and your data will be in sync. If you do so, we hope you'll let us know why you changed back so we can address it. The best way to do this is to open the Knowledge Center and scroll to the bottom where it says Give us feedback. Now, let's explore the catalog and start an order. The title of the catalog you are viewing is in the upper left-hand corner. If you'd like to see more information, such as catalog cover image, and perform some actions, click the name. If you are buying, we recommend adding catalogs to your work list so you can easily find them from the homepage later. Subscribing to the catalog will alert you of any future title additions called drop-ins. Now that we've added this to our work list, we'll click the name again to collapse the overview. If you prefer to see this open by default, you can set that in Preferences, which I'll show you later. The first step to buying is to create an order. For easier access in the new view, we moved the old orange order bar to the top of the screen, made it gray, and condensed order creation actions into one drop-down menu. This gray order bar scrolls with you down the page, so you always have an eye on what order you are working on and your totals. In the menu, you can create an order, select from existing orders, and toggle the visibility of your locations. This is especially helpful if you have multiple stores and only buy for some of them. Clicking Create Order brings up what's called a modal. You may notice that this is actually the same modal from the old view. The new view project is an incremental improvement, so you'll see some older elements here and there. We're still working on them. Give your order a name that makes sense, such as Norton Summer 2024. Add a PO number, a discount, etc. You can share your order with your rep now or later if you prefer. I'm going to share it with my rep Dave now. Unless you are placing a wholesale order, we also highly recommend you click into Advanced Options and bind your order to a specific vendor or catalog. This step will prevent you from accidentally adding titles to the wrong order later on down the line. Since this is a Norton catalog, I will bind it to WW Norton, which means it will only be visible within other Norton catalogs. Now let's save. The order you just created has now become the selected order, and we're ready to browse the catalog and add quantities. In the new view, title actions are located to the left of the jacket cover instead of in a row below each title. We've also made a couple of tweaks to which actions are displayed up front and which are tucked away behind More Actions. These changes reflect the most commonly used buttons. Tags are a great way to remember key information about a title. Let's pretend my store has multiple buyers, so I'll tag this for my children's buyer, John. I'd also like to discuss it with my rep. To get an overview of a title, click Marketing. This opens a panel where you can expand and collapse subsections, such as summary, contributor bios, and more. If the text of any of these sections feels too small for you, click the eyeglasses icon. Of course, you can always adjust the zoom of your browser as well. As you select more items from this sidebar, these stair steps appear. This alerts you that something has happened further down the page, even if you can't see the full content on your screen. You can close panels either by clicking again in the sidebar or by clicking on the vertical text. Adding titles to shelves, collections, and community collaborative lists is a great way to keep yourself organized. This is a title I'm really looking forward to, so I'll add it to my highly anticipating shelf. My store also uses collections, which are essentially catalogs that you control to keep track of books that everyone in the store should know about. This is the beginning of my season, so I'll create the summer TBR list and add this title to it. Once that collection has been created, I can easily add other titles to it by clicking Add to Collections, and then searching for it. Done. As a new feature, if you are a user of our sister site, Edelweiss Community, you can now add books to community collaborative lists right from Edelweiss. This feature allows users to work together to create lists of titles fitting a selected topic or theme and to vote on favorites in community. Edelweiss provides many different ways for you to gather data on books. If a title has garnered any honors, those appear in the bibliographic section. Reviews from Edelweiss members appear on the corners of the jacket cover. On the left, the average rating, and on the right, the number of reviews. To see the reviews in more detail, click on either of these badges. You can review the title yourself by clicking Review in the Actions sidebar. Or just give a quick much love by clicking the heart on the upper right of the jacket cover. This automatically rates the title 9 out of 10, and in a row below the jacket cover, you can see how many other people have done this, as well as see if the title appears on community shelves or collaborative lists. These are all good metrics to judge how popular a title is or will be. Click on the text if you want to see more detail about any of these options, such as who has given the title much love and what role they have, academic, blogger, bookseller, etc. For front list titles especially, viewing comparable titles or comps is a critical part of the buying process. Some comps are supplied by the publisher, and if this catalog has been marked up by your rep, some might be highlighted with a star. Non-highlighted comps can be hidden by clicking the minus sign. If you change your mind, restore it from the menu here. You can also add comps yourself or see comps that other Edelweiss users have added by clicking Find Additional Comps. I'm interested in seeing what the community thinks, so I'll click on Community Comps, select one, and add it. If you are either a Basecamp or Summit Analytics subscriber, comps become an even more powerful tool to guide your buy, allowing you to see past sales history and inventory by location on the right-hand side of the table. Space is limited, so if you're confused by an acronym such as I1, you can hover over it to get more information. As a Summit Analytics subscriber, you'll get access to even more tools to tailor your analytics preferences. In the upper left-hand side of the ordering bar, you can set peer data comparison preferences, such as market, time frame, and location preferences. With these set, I can now look to this green bar above every title to compare my locations to my peers in the selected market. 49% of my peers have this title on order, and I don't have any yet, so I'd better add a few copies. Or, better yet, click this button to the left of the order quantity box to accept my rep's suggestion of 5. Now that we've explored most of the title row information, let's talk about markups. Most likely, you're viewing this catalog because you have a shared markup from your rep. Markups have many elements, including notes, tags, priorities, highlighted comps, and suggested quantities. And a good markup can have a massive impact on your buy. The markup drawer is where you'll see any overview notes, if they exist. The default setting is to view all markups combined, but let's select a specific shared markup. When you close the drawer, the Markup Selector button now displays details such as who shared the markup and when. View markup notes and tags by clicking Markup in the Actions sidebar. If a title has a priority, such as highlighted, that will appear in the title header. Highlighted titles also have a background of light yellow. Featured titles have a slightly larger jacket cover. Skipped titles appear collapsed by default, but you can view them by clicking the arrow in the right-hand corner to expand, or you can set the preference to show them by default. Suggested quantities appear just to the left of each location's order box, and clicking on them will accept the suggestion and add it to your order. If you don't see quantities here, it's either because your rep has not added suggestions or the preference is toggled off. I've mentioned preferences a lot already in this walkthrough, so it's time for a deep dive. One of the big changes in the new view is the division of the old Actions menu into both Actions and Preferences. As you become familiar with the new view, I imagine you'll spend a lot of time tweaking preferences for each catalog and stage of your buy. The Preferences drawer is organized into sections that get progressively more specific. At the top are visibility preferences that affect the catalog as a whole, such as showing skipped titles instead of collapsing them. The second area has title row specific preferences, such as whether you'd like to see the comps or markups expanded by default, or hide your personal notes when you're in a meeting with a rep. Analytics subscribers can show or hide the green bar and analytics preferences, though we're not sure why you'd want to. You can also set preferences for which of the marketing subsections are expanded or collapsed by default. Maybe you don't need to see the summary for every title, but you would like to see everything else. Set the preference here, and you can always expand sections later as needed. Finally, in the new view, you can be explicit about where the review data you are seeing comes from by selecting from your joined communities. Maybe you only want to see reviews from ABA members or internal reviews from your store. All ABA member stores have a special community automatically created for their store. So if you only want to see these reviews, select that community or whatever combination you'd like. We want your experience on Edelweiss to be as easy as possible. If you're a children's buyer, set the preference to show images for each title. Only interested in seeing titles you can currently order, hide unavailable ones. When you're ready to do a final scan of your order, make your life easier by toggling off all title areas that take up precious screen real estate. There are two preferences that don't appear in this drawer. One is to hide the ordering bar if you'd like to maximize screen space. That is located in the upper right-hand corner next to the total number of titles in the catalog. Hide with the arrow and expand by clicking on the shopping cart. In the upper left-hand corner, you can change the display of the entire catalog by selecting from the full view, which is what we see now, or the two-column view. For an initial scan of a catalog, when you're not ordering and don't need to get into the weeds with data such as comps, maybe you prefer the streamlined two-column view. Let's go back to the full view for now, though as we move on to filtering and bulk actions, I'm sure you can imagine the possibilities for your workflow. In the filtering drawer, the technology improvements are very noticeable. The modern tech we are using is more responsive to user input, which means that as you apply filters, other filters update in real time without the need for a refresh. I'm going to open the Format and Retail Price filters to show this in action. We have many formats available, including hardcover and paperback. For pricing, there is a range of less than $10 to $100 and up. Pay attention to the less than 10 filter at the bottom of the screen as I select hardcover. It disappears. This is what I mean by the technology being responsive to user input. For the sake of example, I'm going to filter on hardcover, two mid-range price points, $30 to $39, $40 to $49, as well as a rep priority of featured from the markup filter section. When you close the filter drawer, you'll notice a few new items appear in the list header: remove filters, edit filters, and red text, which shows how many you've now filtered down to, in my case, 1. You can edit filters by opening the drawer again, or with this button. I'll remove the rep priority filter I applied. Now that I'm happy with the filters I've applied, it's time to speed up my workflow by performing some bulk actions. Are you sick of adding the same tag over and over? Maybe you have an awesome rep and want to save some time by accepting all of their suggestions. The Actions menu is your friend. My list is currently filtered to show some mid-range hardcover titles. They look awesome, but I don't have the budget for all of them. In the Actions menu, I will click Select All. Doing this marked the checkbox next to each title's sequence number. I'll then add the tag Wish List. While I'm at it, I will also create and add them to the collection Wait for Paper. Awesome. There's one other feature of bulk actions I'd like to show you. Let's remove all filters. Because those previously selected titles are no longer at the top of the list, it's easy to think that they are no longer selected. Not so. If you ever need to reference the currently selected titles, click on this Selected button in the upper right, which will open a drawer where you can view and unselect titles. This could be helpful if you are scanning a catalog and selecting titles here and there as you go. In the new view, you have all the same sort options, such as title, author, and published date. The default sort order is ascending sequence, but with the new toggle at the top of the menu, it's now much easier to tell whether the catalog is sorted in ascending or descending order. Analytics subscribers can sort the list by your peers' sold, on hand, or on order percent. There are also some new, much requested options, such as to sort by community ratings and suggested order quantity. If any sort other than the default is applied, the sort icon will turn orange to catch your eye. The same is true for many features of the page, like whether a title has tags or is added to a shelf. After all of the prep of sorting, tagging, filtering, and gathering second opinions, it's finally time to enter some order quantities. Double-check that the selected order is the one you actually want to add quantities to, and that all relevant locations are visible if you have more than one store. This is a reminder to go back to the Create Order section of the video and learn about binding your orders if you aren't already doing that. A lot of information in the ordering area on the right is more clearly labeled in the new view, such as on order and on hand quantities. If you have previously ordered a title, you'll see this button with an alert icon. In the old view, this was an orange exclamation mark in a similar location. Clicking on it will give you an overview of any active or completed orders that contain this title. To make it easier to export your order to your POS later, click Add Categories to assign categories. My store doesn't have a health and fitness section, so I'll categorize this as nonfiction. Some POS systems support multiple categories. If you have one of those, you'll see this plus sign in the Edit drawer. You can also enter quantities from this drawer. If you are repeatedly adding or reassigning the same category, it might be time to work on some category mappings. But that's outside of the scope of this walkthrough. So check out our help documentation by clicking the question mark in the header. Entering quantities is the most straightforward part of this walkthrough. Select an order box, add a number. For speedy ordering, press Tab to skip to the next quantity box. Many buyers add a quantity of 0 to titles they would like to discuss with their rep or think on for later. These titles will appear in the filter results for items that are, quote, on order, even with a quantity of 0. Tab to the next order box, and so on until you reach the end of the page. Tab to the next page button and press Enter. We know that some catalogs are far too long to get through in one sitting. Instead of cluttering your desk with endless post-it notes or emailing yourself a reminder, use the bookmark function to save your place. Located to the left side of each title, clicking the bookmark icon will exit you from the catalog and back to the home page. In any widget where the catalog appears, such as recently viewed, bookmarked, on your work list, or catalogs shared with you, you will see this small bookmark icon. Clicking it will take you back to your place. This only works one time, so remember to mark your place again when you're done. The catalog page is not the only page we have created a new view for thus far. When you're ready to complete the buying process, go to the Orders page and then click on the order title in your active orders to view and finalize it. This view looks quite similar to the catalog view, except you won't be able to select other orders from the drop-down on the right, and there are a couple additional features, such as Export Preview, which allows you to export the order to your POS. Click on the order title to see bindings, share with your rep, or edit information such as the PO number or discount. From the share modal, you can also send your rep an email update. I shared this order with Dave when I started it, but I'd like to email him that the order is complete. Select the checkbox next to the name, click Email Checked Share. You can then choose from some preset notification types, in this case, Order Completed, or add your own. Add a quick note, and press Send. Once the email is sent, go back to the Orders page and mark the status as completed to keep things nice and tidy. We encourage you to give the new view a try and let us know what you think. Remember, you can click the light bulb in the lower right-hand corner to open the Knowledge Center if you need more help or want to give us feedback. If you run into any issues, please email us. We'd be happy to help.
All right, everybody. Excuse me. I hope that was informative. The video will also be available going forward from today in the Knowledge Center, which you saw at the beginning. That is, if you're in the new view at the lower right, there is a little orange icon. I would encourage you to put any questions that you have in the chat, any feedback. Just let us know anything that you're thinking, but I'd love to get into talking to Marc here. So Marc, could you tell us some more about your store, your experience on Edelweiss?
Sure. My wife Sarah and I bought our store back in 2006. When we bought the store, my in-laws owned it since 1973. Before that, we actually didn't have internet in the store at the time. And so we moved from Northern California, and we were big on bringing tech into the store, obviously getting a website up and all that good stuff. And so we were one of the early adopters of the original Edelweiss and Above the Tree line, which we love both of those things. I do all the adult buying in the store, and my wife does all the children's buying. And I discovered the toggle, the new view, I think in January when I was doing the buying for our busy summer season. Our busiest months of the year are August, followed by July. So I was a little scared to click the toggle over because I was doing some pretty heavy buying at the time, and we buy from everybody, not just the major publishers, but everybody. We use Edelweiss whenever we can. But it was a really quick, easy transition for me to check out the new view. I was joking when I got on the call today. I was doing some Macmillan buying before I got on the call, and I switched back to the old view just to kind of refresh myself what that looked like. And I definitely don't miss any part of that old view. It was very easy. I feel like there's still some clicking through, but I feel like we've eliminated a click on a bunch of different things. And when you eliminate one click and you're buying dozens of catalogs every season, that really does add up to be a time saver. And as you can see from the demo, you can really kind of customize what those catalogs look like. And Sarah's found the same thing for her. It's just been an easy transition going to the new view.
That's amazing. I mean, it's always nice to hear that you're enjoying the view. And I mean, you were one of our sort of fairly early adopters in using it. I'm curious if you think back, like maybe how long did it take you to become comfortable? Do you remember what like
I,
major changes were tripping you up
you
initially?
know, really for me, it was just kind of trying to find things within the new organization. I really liked where the order tab got moved to, moving it off the bottom of the page to the top. Um, but really, it was the kind of that first sales call, going through that first catalog, finding, the little tweaks that I want to make to that catalog, and then doing that first sales call with my sales rep and trying to find where the suggestions were and that sort of thing. They've just moved around a little bit. No more extra work on my part. It was just a matter of finding things. So really, after that first catalog and first sales call, now it just feels like second nature. It's pretty easy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know for people who are in there every day, you probably have a lot of muscle memory of like, where is the tags button? Okay, and that takes a bit to unlearn, but it sounds like the changes are worth it and you
The
don't
change, I think
think.
so. I think it's yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a more enjoyable experience sitting at home buying books for your store, but in a way it is. And like I said, we were early adopters of the original Edelweiss, so really ingrained and really knew it well. And so switching to a new one felt like it was going to be a little scary, but really it was a piece of cake, and have no regrets of it now.
Can you speak to any of your commonly used workflows and like maybe any changes to them where you mentioned certain things have less clicks? Like, do any of those come to mind off the bat, or it's just sort of a general sense?
No, just a general sense. It's I guess the best way to describe it, it seems less clunky, if that makes sense. But I don't have a specific example of that. It just feels less clunky.
Yeah, that's that's fair. I think we have had some questions come through in the chat. You-
Yes, I'll just jump in. Susan was asking about if the new view is supposed to show, or their plans to show whether or not you've put in event requests, because the old view showed that. Do you have a sense of that, Claire?
I do believe that we have integrated that feature in roughly the same spot in the UI. It's below the bibliographic information. Um, that should be there right now, but if she is not seeing it, we can totally look into that because I do remember working on that feature. Yeah.
Okay, I also see another question about a feature. Brad says we use multiple categories, and after creating a second category, it's not visible unless the cursor is hovering over it. Is there a way to make a second category always visible?
That's awesome feedback, and definitely not the first time that we have heard that particular feedback about the categories area. So it is probably one of those parts of the site that we'll revisit and maybe go, some of the changes, we put them in place and people haven't loved them, and then we've gone back to something that looks a little more similar to the old view on that. I mean, Mark, does your store use multiple categories? How has that new drawer been working out for you?
Our point of sale doesn't allow multiple categories, so we don't use that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I do know that the drawer in general is a change compared to how it worked in the old view, with more of like a little hovering box to add a category. Um,
I'm seeing a couple questions about comp titles and the work on comp titles. Some people said that they're missing the comp titles. Do you have thoughts on that?
it's hard to say without some more specifics, but
Okay.
we did a really big overhaul on comp titles. That was we just had a lot of older code on our back end, like server side, that was overhauled maybe 6 months ago. And as far as I know, that was like totally successful. And we were seeing exactly the same results between the old view and the new view. But there's so many what we call edge cases, like just very specific things. So if again, I guess if there is a specific title and catalog that you notice is broken, like please reach out to support. I will probably repeat this 100 times today, but we can only fix the issues that we know about. And we do generally get back to people like very quickly. about some changes.
Okay, and I'm seeing now some people say that actually maybe some of the comps are visible. So just if they're not visible for you, to email us. I have another question from Davi. It says they say congrats on the new design upgrades. I'm often curious how many books I've ordered across all suppliers that share a release date or release window. It would help me determine if I'm over or under buying for a certain season. Is there a way to view this in the new ordering layout or plans to incorporate such a feature?
Mark, do you want to take that one? I don't know if that is something that would be useful for you as well. I don't know that it's something that exists right now.
Uh, yeah, I don't. It definitely doesn't exist that I'm aware of. New view. Gosh, I'm wondering if playing around with some of those pub date filters and that sort of thing, if there was a way. It seems like there's so much customization in the new view that something would be possible there, but I think I'd have to play around with it. It's nothing that we probably use here in our store, but would be kind of neat to see if you can figure it out.
Yeah, when I think about it right off the bat, it seems like something that might be more useful on the orders page,
Right.
like all orders page, not like the single order page. And that's one that we haven't redone yet, but I could definitely see like maybe a folder system there where you group your orders by season or some way to like select all and get like a total from many orders. Yeah, it makes sense to me that you wouldn't want to like go over your budget for a specific season. No
Might be a
easy
little
ways.
too scary. I don't know.
I'm seeing a question from Susanna that says, can you review the method for editing subject list? So I'm thinking that might be a question about filtering. Susanna, you could write more in the chat if I'm misunderstanding, but reviewing maybe how you would set up a filter. Do you think you have time to show that, Claire?
Like a saved filter?
Yeah, I think that's what we mean. I think that's Susanna, let me know if that's not what you mean. I mean, I'm misunderstanding what editing a subject list is.
Yeah, I mean, I can show
Yeah.
filters for sure, because now that I think of it, that's something that didn't come up in that short video. There was a lot to pack in here. So the saved filters are up at the top here. I apologize, my pointer is very small. I will fix that in a second. But it's right next to the name of the catalog. You click on saved filters, and you have any of your recently used, any saved, and then you can actually create a new one at the top. And this is again one of those incremental improvements. Nothing has actually changed yet in this modal, but at some point, all of these will be converted over to the new view. So you could choose from your different attributes here, like maybe you want a new subject filter for architecture, save. And that would then, oh, I don't do this a lot. I'm going to assume that that is saved. And then it should show up in here. Maybe it's because I didn't put a name in it yet. But this any save filters that you have applied do work like across catalog. So if I apply a big five fiction in this catalog and go to a different one, that will still be applied, which is again the same as the old view. And let me know if that was not exactly the question. And oh, I do see in the chat that Nikki would love to see again where we can bind and share an order after it's been created. So I can go through both ways. So I'm in the catalog right now. If I create a new order here, it is a little tricky to find at the moment. This modal in particular is like top of my list to redo next because I think a lot could be done here. Because binding an order is hidden away under hide advanced options. You can choose to bind it either to a vendor or a catalog. I would have to, give it a name, and I think that's the only thing that's actually required to save. Oh my goodness. Yes, that's fine. So that is how I would do that when I was creating the order. And it has now taken me to the order. You can see at the top, I have order ID in the URL. And if I wanted to bind it now, I can go click on the order name and then edit. And it's the same exact modal. You go into show advanced options and then you can bind it from here and save again, or add your discount, share with your rep at this point. Some people use this appointment date feature, but that is where that is. Is there anything else that had come up in the chat, Gabriella, that maybe?
Yeah, well, someone did ask how to share the order with the rep if you didn't do that when you created the order. So you just showed, but do you just want to highlight that once more? You would go on the
Yeah.
yellow circle.
So, well, there's actually, if you're in the order page, you have this other share button, which you can use as well. And this is a new modal, and then you search for your rep's name. I'll use Dave again. And then clicking that is all you need to do to share it with them. Like, you could be done at this point, just close this out, but you could also send your rep an email directly from Edelweiss with some various different notification types or whatever you'd like. Add some subject text down here. And this is a really great way to let your rep know that, your order is ready for review.
Awesome. I'm seeing a question from Susan. When I was in a Macmillan catalog this week, the highlighted filter was showing up in the old view, but not the new view. Is that just a fluke, or should all the filters now show up in both views? So I think highlighted by your rep, I think is what this is referring to.
Okay, I can show that
Okay.
in this catalog. Again, that sounds like potentially a bug in the old versus new view. So filters, and then all the highlighted filters, that would be under markups. That's a rep priority. And you have highlighted, featured, skip. I guess actually now that I am talking about this, we are aware of a difference between the old and the new view. So essentially the priority should be following a SKU throughout the website in any catalog that it appears, even if you don't have a shared markup. And that is not the behavior in the new view right now, but we are working to fix it and are aware that that is a problem. So I wonder if that is what this user was coming up against, that maybe there were titles that were highlighted in a different catalog than the one that they were viewing, so they weren't seeing them here. That would be my best guess at that.
I have encountered a couple times, I don't know if they're referring to highlighted comps, but a couple of times I had to have my rep reshare their markups with their highlighted comps to get those highlighted comps to show up. It was just, they just weren't there for whatever reason. Once they reshared it, I was able to see them.
That's unusual. There's a lot. The comps are so tricky, believe me, and it is kind of that same. I don't want to say it's a problem. It's the way that the old view works, that the highlighted comps should be following titles in different catalogs, even if they aren't exactly marked up. Or like, let's say your catalog has multiple shared markups. If you don't explicitly have one selected, you should be seeing kind of a summary, like multiple notes, multiple different highlighting, things like that. It can get a little hairy.
I'm seeing, I know you just stopped sharing your screen, but could you possibly demonstrate how to save the edited category for a title?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I am looking at some titles here that don't have any categories yet. So I'll click add and it pulls up in here. Ooh. So this is actually That is very unclear. Because I'm viewing all orders combined right now, I'm not able to change the category. So you have to be in a specific order to do that. And once you pull it up, I don't know, we'll just put agricultural lit in, and that's all you have to do to save it. You can close. I know sometimes it does take like a half a second for this to go, but you are totally fine to just close that drawer right away, and that will continue saving in the background if you want. Yeah, you don't need to like sit here and wait for this little loading spinner to be done before you close. But I'm glad that we showed that on screen, because now I can see that, that we should be more clear that, like, why can't I click into that and edit the category if I'm in all orders combined? Always find new things, especially when you're screen sharing.
Just a note from Lynn, like about categories. I'm curious about the inconsistency across publishers and category codes, that it comes up because of romantasy books, like some publishers selecting fantasy but not romance and finding those books. So is that like the use case we see for editing the category, or
Can I
what is there anything we could suggest to solve that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll pass that one to Mark, since I'm sure you do a lot
Yeah.
more category stuff than I do.
Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to specific stores have different categories in their store. I'm sure there's a lot of store, like we actually have hardcover fiction separated from paperback fiction, and they're in separate categories. Whereas I know a lot of other stores combine them. But we do have a romantasy section, which doesn't fall into romance or fantasy. So I think a lot of it comes down to stores too. It's obviously it's linked to BISAC, and that can help import it into your POS, but sometimes that BISAC just kind of gets it wrong to the way it translates in the store. And I'm not really sure that there is a way to get 100% accuracy on that. Probably not.
Have you done any of the category mappings for your store, Mark?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And we've gotten close enough where we don't have to do a lot of work, but sometimes even especially in the kids section too, there's some stuff that we just need to tweak before it's right. So
Yeah. So just to show here, if folks don't know what I'm talking about with category mappings, if you click on your little user icon and then settings and preferences, we've got category mappings over here. And like, let's say that you always want architecture to have a different export value. Like maybe in this case, anytime, again, I'm sure it wouldn't be 100%, but maybe anytime you see fantasy, you actually want that to say romance. That's a bad example, but you could make that change in here in the category mappings. Very useful for maybe a smaller store that doesn't have every single one of these many categories. Are we all out of questions, Gabriella?
I think we're largely out of questions. Caroline is saying that they have some difficulty seeing the gray bar with the order name when they have the new view on, but I think in that situation, that's probably a bug that they should email support to look into. Yes, which Nikki just said to do. So I think we might be out of questions for now. Oh, Angela says a question. Hold on, let me scroll back up. Sorry, Angela, for missing your question. Can you order from the condensed square view? Oh, I see. Or only if in the long view. Thanks for the reminder, Angela. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think Mark, on one of our previous calls, you had even said like, oh, that would be awesome. I do think there are a lot of people who would enjoy that, because the short answer is no, you cannot at the moment. But I do think that there is a good amount of demand for that feature. This view is probably more useful for scanning through the catalog initially and like I had mentioned in the video, if you were to like select a bunch of different titles as you're scanning and then add tags, it could speed up your ordering flow a little bit if maybe you added a tag like I definitely want to buy these, and then you went back to this view and you filtered on that tag. That could help speed you up, but no actual ordering in that smaller view, or the grid view, I guess is what we call it. Do you use that one at all, Mark?
I do use it for larger catalogs where I don't necessarily have a sales rep. I just really want to look for either regional stuff or just stuff that really jumps off the page. Literally choosing a book by its cover when you just don't have time to thoroughly go through a catalog.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens a lot, probably in some of those bigger catalogs.
And a lot of times too, I'll even filter that by, print run too, knowing that obviously they're going to print more if they believe in the book too. So
Yeah. We have added a couple new preferences that could help with that buying. Sorry, I am going in and out of sharing my screen. But you just mentioned filtering on something. We also now have this hide unavailable titles, which I think could totally speed up your workflow there in a larger catalog if you just, yeah, I know sometimes things get delayed a lot and you don't need to be wasting your time looking at those books.
Think that we may have reached the end of people's questions for now, but if you have more questions or something comes to mind or you don't feel like we totally answered it or demonstrated it perfectly, please email us at support@abovethetreeline.com. We will get you settled. But thank you so much for attending, and thank you. Well, Claire, I'll let you finish things up, but I wanted to just thank you and Mark for showing everybody the new list view. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for the questions and the feedback today. I mean, some of these questions will turn into work pieces for us, like the categories thing. And again, just we really do encourage you to give it a try. We do not have a firm date for when we're going to switch over to this view. It's going to be a while, to be honest. We will probably have the toggle so that you can switch between them, let's say for a year, until like every page of the website is done in the new view. And that would be the point when we would remove that toggle and you'd sort of be forced to use it. But I would definitely encourage you to use it sooner than that so that you get used to it and can help us shape things that you don't like, because this is the time for that.
and I would definitely say don't be scared of it. I was very ingrained in the old version, and I'm happy with the new version. Glad that I made the switch over, and the more people using it, more feedback we can get. We can really, make sure that it's what we all want to use. So definitely jump in and do it.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, for joining us today. And I guess that's it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.